I am never not going to bob my head when our song comes on. I love our show music. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the live edition on this Thursday afternoon of Dodgers Territory. That is my pal, Clint Pasillas. I am your co-host, Alanna Rizzo Clint. The Dodgers have a day off today before they welcome in the New York Mets. What's on your mind?
It's a much needed day off, and I will tell you, these Dodgers are driving me to drinking. So, not a sponsor, but I'll be pouring up as we throw to the big ticket here.
Oh man, you're getting on Thirsty Thursday before even your show, even before all Dodgers hits the airwaves. All right, let's get to that big ticket. Of course, we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. And it does appear, Clint, that the Dodgers bats can go silent. What did you notice from top to bottom as far as the offense is concerned over the last few days?
Yeah, just early season lull. I think the excitement of the start of the new season has kind of waned. It's kind of worn off. Um, could not have timed a better off day. Could have timed a better team to go be facing in the surging Mets, but just not a very cohesive feeling 1 through 9 at the moment. And then you mix in so many little pitching injuries, problems trying to piecemeal some innings coverage. Everything kind of snowballed into please just get us to Thursday. And I'm sure they also are popping bottles on their flight to New York. But it was a tough little series there against the Washington Nationals. What did you like? What did you not like about that series?
Well, I don't like that the bats are cold, but I'm certainly not going to say that the sky is falling right now. I mean, my goodness, it's April 18th, guys. Let's calm down a little bit. What is interesting, though, is the bottom of the order to me still is struggling just as much as the bottom of the order was last season. I think that was the biggest thing. We knew the top of the order, of course, was going to be good with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and, Max Muncy, Will Smith. And now you factor Shohei Ohtani is in that lineup too. But Clint, he is not hitting. Now, I will say this. He does have a lot of loud outs. So perhaps it's not time to panic with Shohei. But coming into this game today, he was 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position. Not today, tomorrow's game. 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position with 4 strikeouts. He's not hitting when guys are on base in front of him. So is that problematic? I mean, 3 times tonight, Dodgers DH Shohei Ohtani has come up with runners in scoring position, and 3 times he swung at the first pitch, producing a 108 mile per hour ground out to second, a routine grounder to second, and a fly ball to center. He is 1 for 19, as I just mentioned, with runners in scoring position in a 289 career with runners in scoring position. That's from Mike DiGiovanna, who does a great job covering not only the Dodgers, but the Angels as well. So again, is it an issue or is he unlucky?
I think it's probably leaning more unlucky. We know it takes time for the law of averages to come into effect in baseball. He got off to a slow start to begin the season, then caught on fire. I'm not overly worried about the situation with Shohei Ohtani and this runners in scoring in position issue, we'll call it. What I am more worried about is the potential of, we heard from Dave Roberts that they're going to talk to him. They're going to try to maybe change up the game plan. He is swinging at the first pitch a whole lot, maybe working some counts. I don't know that I like that idea. I don't know. I'm a big fan of telling somebody who's hitting 341, posting an OPS over 1,000 to be like, no, we don't like what you're doing. Change up your approach. Maybe he's not the time. He'll start driving in some runners along the way. Let's see. We got Juan Toribio there talking about being 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position. There's not much you can do in that situation. That's my opinion on it. You share a similar view, or what are your thoughts?
I'm not opposed to him taking a pitch. I'm not opposed to him working a count to get a bit more comfortable at the plate. I mean, there are certain guys that you're never going to change their philosophy as far as being ready to, when they step into the box, to swing at the first pitch. Just thinking of Dodgers, no more Garcia Parra and Corey Seager. Those guys get into the box as if they already have 2 strikes on them. And they're always ready to swing at the first pitch. I'm not going to change that philosophy for either one of those guys. I'm not certain that Shohei is there yet. I wouldn't mind if he took a pitch and kind of settled into the at bat a little bit. Again, if it's a meatball right down the middle, or if he knows it's something that he absolutely can crush, of course, I'm not saying leave the bat on your shoulder, but I'm not opposed to maybe changing up your approach. Maybe more of a two-strike approach in those situations with guys on base. Again, it's April 18th. I'm not freaking out, but it is more magnified when the Dodgers obviously have this giant offense and a lineup that you looked at coming into the season 1 through 9. You're like, man, this is pretty potent. But what I like about what the Atlanta Braves do is that Brian Snitker, Clint, runs the same exact guys out there every single day. You always know where Austin Riley is going to be in the lineup. You always know where obviously Acuna is going to be, Albies before he got hurt, those types of things. Is there something to be said about the continuity? Okay, enough with the fire Dave Roberts. Okay, got that out of my system. The right field pavilion. Stop it. Stop it.
Listen, you're on Instagram. I mean, what do we call this? YouTube. You're on YouTube. You're going to get those comments.
Well, no, that's fine. Listen, I appreciate everyone has the right to their opinion. I just think it's funny. Washington's second baseman took 3 hit away from the. Yeah, I mean, again, there, Craig. I hear you. There were some unlucky plays. I mean, you got to hit them where they ain't. Right. You got to make sure that you find the grass, not the defender. Some of it's unlucky. I get it, but that still doesn't erase the fact that the bottom of the order is not hitting, and all of a sudden the Andy Pajes, era has started because they're trying to inject something into that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost. It is in part because of those bottom 4, really. Whoever's really in the bottom 3, there's that rotation of 4 dudes. They have been struggling. They have been terrible. We're not going to mince words. They've been terrible with James Outman, who's had some kind of positive in there. Gavin Lux, not very good. We see on the screen there, hitting 148 as he is coming off of injury. So you wonder if you have to give him a little bit of leeway. Pajes got a knock in his first at bat. I think he's 0 for since. But bottom of the lineup with a 170 combined average, 1 through 3. And that's Kike. That's, of course, 1 for 33. Chris Taylor, who we talked about on Monday, continues to be a problem. And it hit a point where Dave can't just keep running Chris Taylor out there and he'll figure it out. You can't just keep running Kike Hernandez out there. Oh, don't worry. These guys have track records. They're going to figure it out. And yes, Kike hit a homer this week, but you got to try to change something. And when you have this kid, Andy Pajes, tearing up AAA hitting or AAA pitching, you got to see what he can do in the lineup, especially with Jason Hayward now out for a longer period of time.
You do that on April 18th, though? You already try to inject a kid that has no big league experience over guys that have a lot of big league experience. I mean, I can understand a couple, 40 to 50 games in. Is it too soon? Or are you thinking, okay, I'm ready to see what this kid that's crushing it in AAA can do at the big league level?
I mean, it's a combination. It's probably too soon, but it's sort of what needed to happen, I guess, or the cards that this lineup sort of dealt itself, in that those 4 guys rotating in those bottom 3 spots are not producing, and this guy's producing. You want people at AAA, players at AAA who are doing well, to feel like if they play well, they can earn a promotion. You would hope to get him a little bit more AAA time, being Andy Pajes, but it doesn't hurt to get him that first cup of coffee, maybe get it out of the way, and he's somebody who could go back down to AAA and come back maybe and help the team later on in the season. So it's not the most ideal time, but it's just the situation that kind of unfolded for this team that's trying to manufacture, trying to create offense with whatever they have.
And let us not forget that some of the game's greats were sent back down. I mean, everyone, had this unbelievable anticipation and expectation for Jackson Holliday, and he hasn't gotten off to the start that many people had hoped. He could easily get sent back down. Remember, Clayton Kershaw was sent back down. Clayton Kershaw, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer, was sent back down. It is very difficult to get to the show. It's even harder to stay in the show and produce while you're at this level. So there was a funny tweet from Dodgers Andrew that says, has anybody tried to unplug the Dodgers and plug them back in. It's so funny how we have these expectations, Clint, that every single guy in the lineup should go 4 for 5, 5 for 5, hit 27 home runs. We often forget, and I do think there's Dodgers, Andrew. Thanks for the conversation and being with us here on Dodgers territory, Andrew. I think it's so funny how sometimes we forget that these guys are human before they're players. We look at them as robots, and this is a difficult game, but we're also unbelievably spoiled. This is
Yeah.
a team that's a perennial contender. They constantly spend money. They constantly put together a good product. So it's like you have this expectation and anticipation that they're going to be flawless. That's not the case.
Yeah, I think sports fandom is just that way. We all expect everybody to be perfect, and if things aren't going great, pitchforks, torches, get the masses, bring him to Dodger Stadium, fire Dave Roberts, fire Mark Walter, and everybody else for the Dodgers being only 12-9 at the open of a season where they're missing, let's say, half of their pitching staff. They don't have Jason Hayward. They have a kid at second base who was supposed to be the shortstop who's coming off of a knee injury and has a lot of expectations on him over the years. James Outman coming into the season with a lot of weight on his shoulders to be the starting center fielder, as he still, you go online every day, you're going to see people being like, oh, we should have signed Cody Bellinger back. Cody's not doing that great to open the season. This is just how baseball goes. You didn't expect them to go a perfect, 21 for 21 to open the season. If anything, you kind of hoped they would be a little bit lower in the pack just to, I don't know, spice it up. This team doesn't need to win the National League West. Makes it a lot more fun if you win the National League West again. But I'm not hitting the panic switch yet. I know a lot of fans want to. I'm not hitting it yet because you're still winning. You're working with what you have.
I mean, it's April 18th, folks. Calm down. I mean, we're going to win the NL West. I have no doubt about that. Jeff Spiegel does a tremendous job for Dodger Blue. And Clint, I know you know him well. We're happy to have him on Dodgers territory today. How are you, Jeff? Welcome.
I'm privileged to be here. Thanks for having me on. I know I've had individual conversations with both of you on different shows over the years. So it's good to be here talking Dodger baseball.
Jeff, of course, the host of Dodger Heads on Dodger Blue. Appreciate you hanging out with us, Jeff. Is it time to fire Dave Roberts?
I caught the tail end of what you were saying just before I jumped on, and I'm with Alanna firmly in the it's April 18th. Can we take a deep breath, folks? The Dodgers are winning the division. What are we panicking about? And so, look, I mean, you guys know this because you're in this space. The easiest thing would be to get on here and say fire Dave Roberts. You get a ton of thumbs up in the comments and a ton of likes, but I just keep coming back to he has the best winning percentage of any manager in Major League history. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think given, the things that people tend to be mad about, especially this time of year, bullpen usage, that kind of thing, I don't know if there are obvious solutions that some other manager would have pulled the strings in a different way and had the same success. So to answer the question, I am not on Dave Roberts, fire Dave Roberts.
But you are on the why isn't James Outman in the lineup instead of Chris Taylor train. Tell me more about that, Jeff. How would you construct this lineup dealing with the certain injuries that they have and lack of production elsewhere?
Yeah, look, this was a funny one where I was arguing with myself, as you can see in the tweet if you're watching on YouTube. Everyone needs to relax. It's only April. Also, why is James Outman out of the lineup and Chris Taylor in it? Yeah, I mean, look, they won that game, so I guess I'm the idiot there because they ended up winning that one. The Outman thing is baffling to me. We did a bold predictions sort of segment on our show at the beginning of the year, and one of our guys, Blake, said, I think James Outman's going to be a platoon guy. Right after I said James Outman's going to be like a 4-win player, I was like, come on, they're not going to platoon him. And then Dave Roberts confirmed that I was right, that he was not going to be a platoon player. And then Dave Roberts also confirmed that Blake was right because he has been benched against every single lefty they faced this year. So I don't know what to make of that. I'm pro James Outman. I don't know how you guys feel. I think he's the most unlucky Dodger on the roster. I think he's been better than the numbers indicate, but yeah, the bottom of the order has definitely been worse than expected.
Yeah, we know that right now the kind of adage is trust the process for the Dodgers, that it's very early, but are you surprised to see so many rookies kind of coming up and I mean, they're forced to be contributors at this point. We were talked a little bit Andy Paez earlier in the show, Ricky Vanasco being a hero for the team, Landon Knack settling in. Did you expect this early?
It's interesting because in many ways, if these guys were going to come up, it was going to be at the beginning of the year, especially on the pitching side, because you knew Bueller, Kershaw, May, all starters that could come back at some point. We thought Emmett Sheehan might be back quicker than it sounds like he will be. And then even on the offensive side, you just felt like if there were real holes a few months from now, they're probably going to try and solve those from outside the organization rather than inside. So in one sense, I'm surprised so many rookies are debuting. I'm just in the opposite sense, I'm not surprised it's early because I thought this would be the window, if at all.
You know, when we think of the Dodgers, Jeff, we think of how strong their farm system is and how much this team never has to really rebuild. They just reload.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point where I feel like we're going to see every single prospect before May 2nd because
Yeah.
they do keep trying to inject, some of this youth into the bottom of the lineup. But I still have faith that Chris Taylor can figure it out. I don't know, 1 for 33. I mean, this is unbelievable to start the season, but this is a guy that's had some brilliant moments in a Dodgers uniform. This is also a guy that they gave a hefty extension to with some serious coin, not Shohei
Yeah.
Ohtani coin, not Yamamoto coin, not Glasnow coin, but still, what do you do? You put on your managerial cap. What do you do with CT?
So Taylor, I've said before, I think one of the things that hurts him is that when he's down bad, it looks worse for him than just about anybody else because of how unique his swing and all of the pieces involved. It's not that he is necessarily dramatically worse. It's that it just the optics are bad for Chris Taylor. Here's the plus side for Chris Taylor. Okay, last season he finished the year with a 104 weighted runs created plus. He was an above average offensive player. That's probably going to surprise some people. But if you go back and look at some of his splits, last year in March and April, he hit 167 with 30 strikeouts and 66 at bats. So now 167 is very different than 029 or whatever the number we're looking at is now. But the point is, he was really, really bad last March and April, and he finished the year as an above average offensive player, even taking into account the rough start that he got off to. So I wouldn't say I'm overly confident we're going to get back there, but I do think if you want to be optimistic of Chris Taylor, there's a pathway to talking yourself into sort of him being able to right the ship.
Oh, we're talking Chris Taylor. I got to have a sip here of the old whiskey. But if we're talking Taylor for a second, do you think there is a world where, yeah, it's frowned upon, but do you think there's a world? Do you think there's some sort of scenario where we could see a phantom IL stint and him maybe just kind of getting a blow, as Dave Roberts might call it?
Look, the Dodgers, I mean, phantom IL, Clint. I'm insulted that you would assume the Dodgers would ever put somebody
Yeah.
on the injured list without them actually being injured. Um, Look, I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close. I think depending on Jason Hayward's timeline and what Andy Pages is able to do, he got a hit in his first at bat. It kind of has been downhill since then. But if Pages can give them something when Jason Hayward needs to come back, they're going to have to rearrange the chairs on the deck, so to speak. If Taylor is still down as bad as it looks right now, I could see them saying, "Hey, let's take a couple weeks, clear the mind." His shoulders giving him trouble, so to speak, and seeing if a reset would help. But I don't think it's crazy given A, the Dodgers track record, and B, just how bad it looks for Taylor right now.
We're talking with Jeff Spiegel, who does such a great job covering this team. Noah Ortega wants to say this: CT3 in 2021, massive slump, then a walk-off home run and a game with 3 home runs. I believe in him. And Noah, so do I. Now, I do understand, though. And Jeff, you were talking about the fact that last year CT had a rough start, but then he finished as a plus offensive player. But he also got to play a lot more last year than he's getting the opportunity to play this year. Does that factor into your thought process?
Yeah, I think I've long said, and I've used this argument more for a guy like James Outman, and the way they handle players like him. I just don't love, whatever the analytics say about platoons and that kind of thing. There has to be a mental side to not getting reps every single day. I think it has to help to be in the lineup every single day. Now, Taylor, I will say, has kind of been able to make it work in spite of that. His career is kind of made up of not really being the everyday guy over the last few years for the Dodgers, not playing the same position every single day, and yet he's still made it work. And so I'm not sure if I would point to that as part of the problem for him. Because I think even we were joking about the lineup the other day against Patrick Corbin. Like, I think the reason he was in there is because the Dodgers were like, "Hey, Patrick Corbin's on the mound for the Nationals. This is an opportunity for, you would hope, a guy like Taylor to be able to get it going a little bit." and yet it didn't really work out for him. So I'm not sure that's the reason, but again, I still think there's reason for optimism because we've sort of seen really, really bad Chris Taylor slumps before, and he always seems to come out.
Yeah, I'm not ready to run him out of town just yet. Let's talk about some of the pitching situations here, Jeff. We are hopeful that we get Walker Buehler back soon. He does have his fourth rehab start today with the Oklahoma City Dodgers, but Glasnow started off great. His first three outings were fantastic. Didn't look so great the last time out. What did you notice?
Yeah, it's baseball, right? You guys were talking about this right before I came on. I think Clint was saying, this is a sport where if you succeed 3 out of every 10 times offensively, that's a good one. I think pitching, you never want to see maybe the deepest of lows, but you kind of come to expect that it's not always going to be perfect. I'm not willing to overreact to sort of one bad start, just like I probably would have told the people a week earlier who saw the dominant performance and were ready to crown him the greatest pitcher in Major League history. Like, oh, let's take a deep breath a little bit. Glasnow's very, very good, and my opinion is not going to be moved dramatically by one start either direction. Honestly, for Glasnow, every time he just goes out there and takes the ball every fifth or sixth day, to me, that's the most important thing: is can this guy stay healthy? More so than whether I'm concerned about the results he's going to get once he's out there.
Yeah, last time you came onto my channel, we talked about the starting rotation just before the start of spring training. I liked what you had said then. It's kind of all of these things could go really well, but there's a but. Everybody kind of has a little bit of a but. I mean, we're all born with them, but let's talk Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Are you would you say you're surprised? Are you shocked to see him being on this once a week schedule, that they're really sticking to that? And do you think this team can survive the once a week schedule throughout the entirety of the season?
Yeah, I would say I'm not surprised they're doing this because I think with Glasnow's health history, with Bobby Miller's sort of lack of long track record of 32 starts a year, with Yamamoto's, pitching once a week, I'm not surprised they're doing this. We've joked on our show. I don't know why they don't just name Ryan Yarbrough the sixth starter. It's like, we're going to do a bullpen game and then he's going to throw 5 innings. It's like, 5 innings is more than some of your starters are giving you on normal starts. So I think as long as they can, they're going to. So I'm not surprised by that piece. I will say with Yamamoto, the thing that surprised me, I expected him to be super successful right out of the gate, just because guys hadn't seen him before. The scouting report wasn't going to totally be out on him. And so I expected sort of him to be really dominant, honestly, the first month or two of the season. So I'm a little surprised he hasn't been more successful. I was expecting that to come back down to earth, but the fact that he started from a place of, I would say above average so far, doesn't necessarily mean I'm still expecting it to go down. I assumed it would be way more impressive out the chute.
I'm going to throw out the Souls start for Yamamoto.
Sure.
I still think we need to see what he can give us. Having give him 4, 5, 6, 7 starts before I think we can make a true assessment on how well he is adjusting to major league pitching and how well the adjustment is from the hitters to him. Middle relief. We're going to get to the super chat here in just a second, Jack. Thank you so much for being a part of Dodgers territory. We appreciate you big time. But middle relief, middle relievers need love too.
Yeah.
But man, they make me want to drink.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to happen with this club, obviously, with Brusdar Gratterall out for an extended period of time, the injury to Blake Trinan. What do the Dodgers do here in terms of bolstering up the back end of the bullpen to get it to Evan Phillips or whoever happens to get the call that day in the ninth?
Look, if there's an area of this team that I've been dead wrong on, it was the bullpen. I predicted that this group would be one of the strengths. Now, obviously, Gratterall and Trinan missing some time, 2 guys that I would kind of put in the top 4 relievers that they were going to have, I think plays a part. I expected JP Feyereisen to be better than he has been. So I'm surprised in that sense that it hasn't been great. Vesey is a guy that I'm probably higher on than most Dodger fans, which I don't think is a high bar, to be fair. But I like Vesia. I think there's still potential there. I've joked Michael Grove has been on our show a number of times. Super great guy. I will defend him personally until the death. So
yeah, nice, you just want him to still come on your show, though. Let's be honest.
Totally. I root for good guys. And I think I see the positives of like what it could be when he has these stretches, like even yesterday's game where it's 3 innings, no hits, 5 strikeouts. I think he's had 10 strikeouts in his last 5 2/3. Like I see that potential. And I just, if we can find consistency there, But I think it is concerning. Like Ryan Brazier, I know there were lots of people in my mentions that were concerned when they went out and signed him. I don't think Joe Kelly was like a sure thing. If he was like your eighth best reliever, sure. But now he's your third or fourth best reliever. Daniel Hudson has been a pleasant surprise. So it's a lot more patchwork than I was expecting. I think there are pieces there, especially if Trinan and Gratterall do in fact come back, that you've got the makings of a good bullpen, but I think they're going to have to kind of patch it together and make it work here for a little while.
Yeah, we see, Brazier did not have himself a very good spring training. That's continued onto the season.
Yeah.
The numbers are decent on Alex Vesia, but I don't know how high you are on FIP and just some of those underlying numbers. It's not a very pretty sight when you're looking at some of these stats. Let's focus on Vesia, because I know that's another one where puts butts in the seats here in the chat sometimes. Do you think Vesia sticks around for the entirety of the season?
It's interesting because the Dodgers have, by their behaviors, told us they don't really care about if you throw with your right hand or your left hand. They care if you can get left-handers out. So if you're of the belief that that is true, then I think Vesia is in a precarious position because his value is strictly as a left-handed pitcher. But if the Dodgers don't care what arm you throw with, then I think Vesia is going to be in a little tougher spot. I was just pulling up some of his numbers. The stuff is, his velocity is down from last year. His strikeout rate is down. His walk rate. I mean, look, 8.7 walks per 9 innings for Vesia right now is not going to get it done, especially when the strikeout rate is down and all of that. I know it's a 2.6 ERA, but he's just like one of these middle relief guys that some days they're awesome and some days you're just praying they can get through the first 3 batters before somebody can go get him out of there, And Vesia, I think, is classic. He throws the first fastball at the top of the zone, and either the guy smashes it or he swings right through it. And it's like, I felt this way with Kenley. I felt this way with Craig Kimbrell. I'm not comparing Vesia, but there's some guys where one pitch in, you're like, yep, I know exactly how this is going. The cutter is missing bats today. It's going to be a good day. The high fastball is missing bats today. It's going to be a good day. And other days where it's like foul off. And you're like, oh my goodness, he is not fooling anybody. And so I think he can remain apart. I think there's an upside to Vesia. Like the best version of Alex Vesia, I think, is a weapon. Whether or not they actually tap into that, he reaches that potential, massive, massive, massive TBD.
Jeff Spiegel with Dodger Blue. What do you guys working on for your upcoming show?
Yeah, we do post-game shows every Tuesday night, every Friday night. We do a live podcast every Sunday night as well over on Dodger Blue 1958 on our YouTube channel. So we're there. We got a new daily show that we do like 10 minutes every morning by 10 a.m. That's sort of game recap / game preview / biggest story going on. So that's what we got planned.
All right. Well, you're busy. We always appreciate your insight, your information. Great to have you here on Dodgers territory. The first of many appearances, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to have you.
All right. The last licks coming up now. And again, we always talk about a pup, Clint, that needs a home. And this one, I'm featuring Trixie once again. This is a pup that has all of her shots. She's no older than a year and a half old. She's little. She's about 15 pounds. She's a sweet girl, great with other dogs, great with kids. Check out GidrysGuardian.org for photos and information about Trixie. There she is. She's such a sweet girl. She's in a foster home right now in Valencia, California, but she is ready for her forever home. She's microchipped. She's healthy and she's ready to go. So adopt a pup. Her name is Trixie, and we would certainly appreciate that. All right. It is Thirsty Thursday for you, Clint Pasillas. You've already gotten started. It's not even 12:30 in Los Angeles, but that's neither here nor there. What's coming up on All Dodgers?
Hey, we're going to be talking about the Dodgers on All Dodgers tonight. Me and producer Kevin, who has joined me this month, made it more fun, not just talking to myself and a camera. Of course, great crowd of folks join us there in the chat. But talking more about this Dodgers lineup, I'm going to pose the question, is it time to maybe consider changing the lineup around for a spark? So we'll have that conversation tonight, plus more Dodger talk, and I'm going to have a little more fun. We're talking favorite ballpark foods tonight. So tune in, 6 p.m. on All Dodgers here on YouTube.
All right. You can subscribe to Clint's podcast, All Dodgers, on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Do the same for us here at Dodgers Territory. We appreciate it so much. We are on the Foul Territory platform, that channel, Dodgers Territory. We will be back with you, another live edition on Monday. Take care, guys. Don't worry. The Dodgers are going to be just fine.